The new TOEFL test will begin on January 21st, 2026, and it's considerably different to the old test. So it's important to know how it differs and what you need to learn. In part 1 of the new TOEFL test, you will be asked to repeat 7 different sentences. These 7 sentences will relate to an academic or campus situation. After each sentence, you'll have between 7 and 12 seconds to repeat the sentence, and the sentences will get more difficult as they go on. They'll get longer and more complex. At the end of the test, you'll be given a grade for each of those 7 sentences and a maximum award of 5 points for each. So the total for part 1 will be out of 35 points. The sentences you repeat will be graded in terms of intelligibility and if you copied the sentence exactly the same. For example, you will see a picture of the zoo and then you'll be given the sentence. For example, you will see a variety of wild animals. So then you must repeat that sentence accurately and intelligibly within, say, 7 or 8 seconds. The final sentence will be more difficult, maybe something like, the visitor center located near the front entrance can give you more information. And for that sentence, you'd get maybe 12 seconds to reply. You'd really have no chance to take notes, so you just got to practice repeating information. Another example, maybe you have to repeat information about a library. Well, it would start quite simple. Welcome to the library. But the final sentence might be something a little bit more complicated, like, when you are finished reading them, please place all the books in the return bin. In part 2 of the new TOEFL test, you'll be asked to join a simulated conversation with a pre-recorded interviewer. The interview takes place during a variety of situations, such as applying for scholarships or participating in a research study. You'll be asked to answer 4 questions related to the interview topic, and you'll be asked to describe your experiences and your opinions. Each of those 4 questions, you'll have to speak for 45 seconds. At the end of the test, you'll be given a maximum of 5 points for each of the 4 questions. So therefore, there'll be a total out of 20 points. The questions basically a little bit similar to part 1 of the old TOEFL test, where you have to give your opinion and support it. The first question will usually be about your personal experience or some factual information, whereas the later questions will be on more broader topics, maybe about your country, maybe about your city, just more general ideas. Just like the current TOEFL test, they will grade your score, your answer, based on criteria such as the vocabulary that you used, the grammar, whether you made any mistakes, your fluency, whether you answered the question accurately, and how you developed your ideas. These are criteria they're going to use to decide how many points out of 5 you get for each answer. The questions will get harder as they go on. So for example, they might say, now, I'd like you to think back to the last time you visited a city in your country, a city that you didn't live in. Why did you travel to that city? And what did you like about that city? So the skill is to practice developing your answers, thinking about not just why, but also the other WH questions like who, what, when, where, how. If you use these kind of details, you can fill the time and get a good score. Some people find cities dynamic and exciting. Others find that cities are overwhelming and drain them of energy. What kind of reaction do you have to cities? Why do you think you react in that way? So again, it's your opinion, but the complex part is to explain why. The last question will be a little bit more difficult maybe. Do you think that city governments should create more parks in urban areas to promote a general sense of happiness and life satisfaction? Why? Or why not? You can give your own opinion about the benefits of urban green spaces. Another example for part 2 would be if you get asked questions about research study about exercise habits. You have a short online interview with a researcher about exercising. So the interviewer might say something like, thank you for taking part in this study. Today, I'd like to ask you some questions about your exercise habits. First, can you describe the type of exercise you do or someone you know typically does regularly, such as running, yoga, or weightlifting? Why? To get the best score, you should try to fill as much of the time as possible. If your answer's too short, again, it'll be hard to get a 5. In my free time, I love to exercise by swimming. I think swimming is one of the best types of exercise anyone can do because not only is it healthy, but it also doesn't harm your body in any way. If you do running or weightlifting, maybe you can get injured, but swimming can exercise all of your body, your arms, your legs, it does cardio, everything. And it protects all your body too. You don't get injured, and it's a great way to keep fit and healthy. You can do it in many places, it doesn't cost much money, and most places have a swimming pool in their area. So I like swimming. Another question might be something like, some exercise programs are done alone, and others are designed to be done with other people. Would you prefer to exercise alone, or would you prefer to exercise with others? Why? Personally, I prefer to exercise with other people because it makes it more entertaining, more fun, and you can get to know your friends much better by exercising with them. For example, if you do exercise alone, maybe it's a little bit dull, maybe you're not very motivated, but when you do it with other people, you can motivate each other, encourage each other to keep going, to do better than your personal best, and to exercise more. So I think generally, for most people, exercising with others is more beneficial. Some people believe that exercising outdoors is more beneficial and enjoyable than exercising indoors. Do you agree or disagree? Why? You can see that a lot of these questions give you two options: agree, disagree. Do you prefer A or do you prefer B? So again, they're very similar to the old question 1 or task 1 in the old TOEFL test. So you need to practice giving your opinion and talking about comparatives and superlatives. That will make your answer better. I think in Taiwan, it's actually probably more beneficial to exercise indoors because in the summer in Taiwan, it's really too hot and humid, and it could be quite dangerous exercising outdoors. You could overheat, you can get sunstroke, and it could be quite tricky. Whereas I think if you exercise indoors with other people, it's safer, you can have air conditioning. So generally in Taiwan, I would probably prefer exercising inside a building. Lastly, I would like to ask about using fitness apps. Some people like to use fitness apps on smartphones to organize their fitness schedules. Do you agree this is a good way to keep track of your exercising goals? Why or why not? Definitely. I think fitness apps are very useful for people who want to keep fit because you can set your targets on the apps. You can see how much you've achieved. For example, I know a lot of people use these apps that count how many steps they walk every day, and they can do this just to motivate themselves to keep going and maybe beating their personal records and keeping fit and healthy. Also, a good fitness app will warn you when you're not doing enough, so you can kind of increase your schedule and exercise a little bit harder. Overall, I think the new TOEFL test is a little bit easier than the old TOEFL test. There's less academic vocabulary. Of course, you still need to practice hard because repeat questions, they're going to grade your tests quite harshly, I feel, because it's quite easy to repeat things. You need to repeat them very accurately using good pronunciation and fluency and make sure you get every single word. The second part of the test, which is giving your opinion about things, for many students, that was the weakest part of the old TOEFL test. Students were not very confident giving their opinion, so you really need to practice giving your opinion and expanding your answers without having much time to prepare. So this is a skill that you just need to practice daily. So again, it's important to come to a class and get some motivation, get some classmates to help you, and get some constructive feedback.